Today was day 3, night 3 in the US of what has looked like the longest infomercial in television history. The Democratic National Convention, ostensibly held in Milwaukee, is actually rolling out online and on air like a political version of the shopping channel. It's been staged, scripted and highly saccharine, especially a procession of millionaire former and current politicians reading teleprompters from their lavish living rooms, all telling us that their country is on the brink and that if Americans vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, then that will fix it all. And they'll probably throw in a set of steak knives too. Let me take you through some of the highlights and hypocrisy of what's unfolded today. Let's start with Hillary Clinton, who opened her set piece with this howler.
The morning after the last election, I said, we owe Donald Trump an open mind and the chance to lead. I meant it.
She meant it? Hillary's not a great saleswoman, is she? That was fake news. Talk about the end of truth in politics. A Democratic Party whose apparatus of state was pursuing a fake Russian collusion conspiracy against Donald Trump before he was elected, and then when he was president-elect before he was inaugurated, now pretends it wanted to give him a chance to succeed? We've all seen, since the riots and threats on day one, through complaints, inquiries and threats of impeachment, that Trump's victory was never accepted by the Democratic Party or their supporters. And remember when Clinton said people who didn't support her were deplorables? She's still blaming voters.
For 4 years, people have told me, I didn't realize how dangerous he was. I wish I could do it all over. Or worst, I should have voted. Look, this can't be another woulda, coulda, shoulda election. If you vote by mail, request your ballot now and send it back right away. If you vote in person, do it early. Become a poll worker. Most of all, no matter what, vote.
Yeah, you idiots. You were too dumb for vote for me. Make sure you get out there and vote for Joe. Even from the most eloquent speaker of the night, Barack Obama, even from this former president, we heard the wild claim that their political opponents are a threat to democracy itself.
This administration has shown it will tear our democracy down if that's what it takes for them to win. So we have to get busy building it up by pouring all our efforts into these 76 days and by voting like never before for Joe and Kamala.
Now, we all know Trump is divisive, abrasive and brash. These observations are made so widely and so often it's boring. The media talks of little else. Yet they give the Democrats a leave pass for their ugly, divisive politics. Vote Democrat or democracy is finished. They are obsessed with negative attacks. Even Obama offered this caricature of Trump.
I did hope, for the sake of our country, that Donald Trump might show some interest in taking the job seriously. That he might come to feel the weight of the office and discover some reverence for the democracy that had been placed in his care. But he never did.
Trump hit back on Twitter, accusing Obama of spying on him during the last campaign and getting caught. An exaggerated reference to those FBI investigations that started the whole Russian collusion crusade 4 years ago. The big moment today, the historic moment, was the official endorsement of Kamala Harris as vice presidential candidate and the unveiling of the Democratic ticket on stage with their partners before a strange, socially distanced media audience.
Let's fight with conviction. Let's fight with hope. Let's fight with confidence in ourselves and a commitment to each other, to the America we know is possible.
Yeah, sort of weird stuff. It's difficult in this era of the pandemic, in this era of social distancing. Their partners, husband and wife, came out and joined them. It looked like a bit of a party in search of a venue. The US has never seen a woman of colour on a presidential ticket and has never had a woman as vice president. So there's history made already, and there is more history on offer at the election. But the focus on these identity issues, above all else, from the liberal left media in the US, really is something to behold.
If you believe what the Constitution says, a more perfect union, that all men are created equal, right, then tonight was exemplified that, right? Mm-hmm. If you are a bigot, if you are one of the Proud Boys, if you are an anti-Semite, if you are a neo-Nazi, if you are the people who were marching in Charlottesville, that is your worst nightmare, what you saw on that stage.
But people who support Trump have made a deal with that type of animus. There is no coincidence that many of the groups, if not all that you just mentioned, Don, support this president.
Identity, identity, identity. Racists on one side, good guys on the other. This is obviously wrong and unfair. It's deeply insulting to any Republican voter, and it's disconcerting and dangerous politics. Meanwhile, Donald Trump responded in a more matter-of-fact way.
Now, President Obama did not do a good job, and the reason I'm here is because of President Obama and Joe Biden. Because if they did a good job, I wouldn't be here. And probably if they did a good job, I wouldn't have even run. I would have been very happy. I enjoyed my previous life very much. But they did such a bad job that I stand before you as president. Thank you all very much.
The Democratic convention will reach its climax tomorrow with the major speech from Joe Biden. And let's hope he moves on beyond identity politics and fear-mongering and onto some policies and an agenda. Because even on the shopping channel, you've got to give people some sort of positive incentive to close the deal. Let's bring in Barbara Heineback now, who joins us via Skype. Again, good to see you, Barbara. Of course, as a former Clinton advisor, a Clinton White House advisor, you're very closely connected to the Democratic Party. It is history to see Kamala Harris, a woman of colour, on the presidential ticket. But do you get worried about the overemphasis by the politicians and the media on these race and identity issues?
I absolutely do. First, I just want to say congratulations to Kamala Harris. It's nice to see a woman on the ticket, someone that has an Asian American and African American background as a potential candidate for the vice president of the United States. So that's a positive. It's good to see. But what has been so disappointing is all of this race baiting now for 3 days in a row. Well, actually, it's been just about for 4 years in a row. But guess what? Donald Trump did not start all of this race baiting. If we look back a little bit, Donald Trump contributed twice to Kamala's campaign, $5,000 one time, $1,000 another, when she was running for different races and all. And he was fine, and no one called him a racist for 30 or 40 years when he was in New York. Why? He was a Democrat. And it's only been fairly recently that he became a Republican. So if he was such, if he had issues against Israel and anti-Semitic and all, it's kind of funny that I just sort of sat and laughed the first year of Donald Trump's administration, and I thought to myself, I know that Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer were sitting back and saying, darn it, why didn't we do that? He took Israel and he put the embassy in Jerusalem, as many 3, 4, 5 presidents before him had promised, but as soon as they got to the White House, they forgot about it. Donald Trump fulfilled more of his promises in the first year and a half of his administration than anyone else had done before him. And the race baiting is an insult to people like me, a Black American. Many of us have achieved things, and many of our forefathers have achieved a lot. So why is it that even though they try to pretend that they're so concerned about COVID-19, yet and still they won't say anything about Black Lives Matter, not just with the distancing, but far more important, how violent they are. And I watched Kamala a few days ago when Joe first announced her, Joe Biden, and she came out and she was speaking on behalf of Black Lives Matter 84 nights now in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. It is very disturbing, and not all of us are victims. And unfortunately, the people that will suffer the most after these thugs and thieves and killers go home are going to be your poorest in the society.
Barbara, does this sort of backfire on the Democrats in much the same way as Hillary Clinton's deplorable comments did? I mean, you've got the Democratic politicians and their media, like the CNN commentators, essentially telling Americans if they vote for Trump, they're racist. They're really so demeaning to anybody who differs from their political outlook. Doesn't that push voters back towards the Republicans?
We will see come Election Day, or I used to say that we'll see on November the 4th, but now we may not see until January, February, March if they have all these mail-in voters.
Wait for the mail to come in, yeah.
Yeah, because that's another issue. And with me not being there on the ground now, like I was for the last election shortly before, and I'd probably gone around to 20 or 25 different states, within that last year before Election Day, I had a little better read and sense of what's going on the ground. But it's scary for me to think that Americans on the whole are going to fall for this continual nonstop race baiting. We've heard two things in 3 nights. We've heard race baiting and we've heard get out the vote. The first night was a real sleeper. There was no real enthusiasm there. And the only one that really hit back against Donald Trump was Michelle Obama, which was a little not surprising, but in a way it was. But I really thought,
just on that point, Barbara, and we're nearly out of time, so if I could ask you just to finish on this briefly, given what you say about these first 3 nights, is that the test for Joe Biden tomorrow to deliver a speech that goes further, that actually holds up an agenda, some promise to the electorate?
I would like to see that, because we've heard nothing so far except get rid of Donald Trump, but there's been nothing forward-thinking, and they but obviously the Democratic Party is in search of a cause of who are they, what do they want to be. They're only saying get rid of him because of all of these fake issues, but offering nothing whatsoever new. And when I heard Obama speak today, I was really surprised that I've heard this man speak. I've been and attended several of his speeches. He usually brings so much fervor and enthusiasm and energy. And I got the feeling that I'm not so sure he's even interested in seeing Joe Biden win this.
Barbara, thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you very much. See you, Chris.
Barbara Heineback there, former Democratic Party White House insider, now based in Wollongong.